Hello, this is Lucille Kring and welcome to Kring's Corner. This week I have two of my very, very favorite guests. They are informative, they are fun, they are entertaining, and they are up to speed on all the political issues surrounding the world. And they are Ron Winship, who is the producer of A Cutting Edge, a talk show, and Larry Gilbert, who is the reporter of the same show. Thank you so much for being here again.
We're always honored to be with you.
Oh, it's so much fun.
So we always have fun when we come over here.
We do, we laugh, we talk, we solve
betcha.
all the problems of the world.
Yeah,
at least we try to.
If just someone would listen.
Yeah, just someone.
They never listen.
Exactly.
Okay, well, we'll think about that later. Anyway, let's talk about what's going down in Crawford, Texas. So the president's supposed to be on a vacation. Of course, the president never goes on a vacation. It's always a working vacation. And we've got quite a media blitz down there with Cindy Sheehan.
Well, it was sort of like a Woodstock. And you know what happens with Woodstock revivals? Like about 20 people show up to a Woodstock revival if they have it today. And so they started that. And so it was a slow news day. And so all the major media decided, well, let's go down and listen to what this lady had to say.
Right.
And she is about as informed about what's going on in Iraq as, I don't know, maybe somebody that doesn't pay too much attention. But the problem is that they started taking her seriously.
Right.
And the reason why they gave her veracity was the fact that her son had passed away, and that really is so sad. It's terrible. Anyone that puts on the uniform of the United States and even shows up at a training exercise and passes away, whether it's in harm's way because of a war or because of training or whatever, it's the same reason. It's a bad thing.
And we all appreciate their service, and we all have our hearts bleed for the parents.
As you might have noticed, maybe 100 people showed up to the Crawford Ranch.
Right.
But because of the modern days with the blogs and the internet, they were able to put these candlelight vigils out all over the country. So we had them in Laguna Beach and Newport Beach. We had them all over the East Coast, up and down the West Coast, of just anti-war people, which are not probably didn't vote for the president in the first place.
And that's fine, because this is a country where First Amendment, it gives you freedom of speech. Even the president said, I respect her right to say this, and I know she's going through a lot of anguish. It's got to be terrible. It's just not the right order to lose a child. But they're giving aid and comfort to the enemy. When they see all these protestations, the enemy says, we've got you now.
They surely are, and we're getting feedback from the troops that they're very upset, that they do support the war, and they're going to stay there till it's finished.
Absolutely.
She did something that was very clever, though. You know, when the president goes to his ranch, the media has nothing else to do, so they want to hang around. So she had a huge media attention when she started this. Now, it's interesting that on Monday, a caravan left from San Francisco, was in LA yesterday. I think they were in San Diego last night, saying, Cindy, you don't speak for us.
Right.
And it's another mom whose son is over there. And there's some things that the public needs to recognize, and that is, this is an all-volunteer army. He was not drafted. He signed up, might have been his second tour.
It was his second tour, because he believed in the effort.
It's sad that he died, but I wonder what his thoughts would be today, knowing what his mom is doing. Even members of her family are distancing themselves because they don't agree with the policy that she's taken.
Right.
And sadly, we believe that she's being manipulated now.
She really is, and it's gotten to the point there's no backing down. She's going to continue this, but she's getting her basically 15 minutes of fame, and then when something happens in September, because August is always a slow month, then the news is going to move on to something else.
I call it a Sarah Brady moment. Okay, it's a Sarah Brady moment. She wasn't the one that got shot.
No.
But she's going to make all the press she can out of it.
Right.
And so Cindy Sheehan, for all intents and purposes, has become the new Sarah Brady for the war effort.
That's really sad.
And, you know, that's okay. No, everybody, you know, I hope she writes a book and gets money and gives it to the kids that are that have had their arms and legs lost over there. And I hope that she takes the time to go and visit some of these kids that have been serving over in Iraq.
That would be interesting, yes.
You know, it always amazes me that they never, once they do write these books and they do all these things, it was like Richard Clark. Richard Clark, he didn't give any money to the 7/11 or the 9/11 people. He said he was going to do it, but he never did. I mean, you know, the bottom line of this story is it's self-aggrandizing, it's self-serving, and it's stupid. And then he asked, what gets me really upset about this is about Cindy saying, well, to the president, okay, just tell me that you're stupid. Just tell me that you're an
you
idiot.
lied.
Tell me that you are a war criminal.
Right.
Tell me that you should send your two daughters to Iraq. You know,
Right.
I mean, ridiculous things. I mean, if she was rational, reasonable.
Well, they're giving her
We're
a lot
talking.
of slack because she's really emotionally upset this happened. But it happened a year ago. But people grieve in all different ways. But her family, as you said, distanced themselves. Her husband is divorcing her. She's lost her
Right.
family and friends. She's created this other group of friendships around her that'll drop her in a moment's notice. They're raising a buku amount of bucks there. There's information. She does not sleep in this place. She goes to a hotel with the press every night. So there's a lot of stuff. And she says, I want to meet with the president. But the president's already met with her.
You know, one thing that I heard earlier today, it'd be nice if she went, or the press went, to Iraq and talked to the mothers there who are losing their sons,
Right.
who are they're trying to create a new security force there and in the police, and they're under terrorist attack every day, and how much they appreciate, you know, our presence and the fact that we're trying to give them their freedom.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is, Larry brought this up the other day that I thought was absolutely exact. We lost 6,000 people on D-Day
Right.
at Normandy. Okay, we lost
That was in about
22,000 in
15 minutes,
Guadalcanal. I mean, we've lost 1,841 people. If you put it into perspective,
Which is sad. We don't.
One is one
person.
too many.
It's
One is
sad.
one too many.
But
One person
still,
is no good.
when you think
but
about
the
it,
bottom line is that I mean, if you put it in perspective to the totality of what we've done, we've taken over a whole country.
Right. And
It
look at
wasn't
what-
just an island in the South
Right.
Pacific that we lost all those Marines in Guadalcanal.
And look at all the people who were ravaged and raped in these
don't
sites
wanna
for
talk
burial
about
that
that.
you saw when Saddam was in charge. But just one more thing about that, when they talk about why did we do it, and the president always says to make our country safer. So since we've been in Iraq and Afghanistan, we've had no terrorist attacks in this country, which
Well,
is
knock on wood, let's hope
pretty
that
good.
continues.
There may
Yeah.
be Homeland Security in effect that we're not hearing about.
I would hope so, because we don't need to know everything that's
Yes, we
going
don't.
on. I think a lot of things happen behind the scenes, and there's a lot of people telling them and risking their lives to give the home security people information to keep us safe. So let's move on to another topic, because we could go on forever on that. Coming up this November, there are 8 initiatives on the ballot, and a lot of them are supported by the governor. There could have been 80 initiatives because people were coming out from the woodwork getting signatures, but there are 8 that we're concerned about. One is redistricting, which the governor has supported, because in the last election, not one person in Congress, not one person in the state legislature, they changed maybe for term limits, but the political party never changed a seat. And that's because when they redistricted in 2000, they all set up this plan as electeds and spent money to make sure that their seat, be a Republican or a Democrat, was safe. So now the governor says, we don't have a democracy here. The people are not represented. So put redistricting on the ballot with Ted Costa. Then it was pulled out by Lockyer because there was a difference in the title and what was circulated. Now it's back on. I think that's going to be great. I'm a real proponent. I think it's going to be great. But now you have a Republican Doolittle, congressman from the North. You have Howard Berman, a Democrat from Los Angeles area, also a congressman. They went to the Federal Elections Commission. There's only a certain amount of money that electeds can spend, can ask you to give them for their races. But on initiatives, they said, we want unlimited amounts to be given that we can raise.
Of course.
And the FEC said yes. So these 2 people who represent both sides of the aisle now are going to be able to raise millions to defeat what the people want. If the people want to elect a Democrat, God bless them, they should.
Yeah, but there's no logical foot to stand on for that issue. So I really believe that as much as they malign the governor and say, oh, he's really not popular anymore, compared to what? The bottom.
Well, look at all the ads against him.
Yeah, the bottom line is that the unions have been pushing and the teachers have been pushing, saying, oh, he's got a secret ploy to disparage us all. And all this other nonsense. And let me just say this: that may play in Poughkeepsie, but it doesn't play in on Broadway. And the bottom line is that in this election, we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if we're hitting 73% yes on the redistricting. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 62%, 64% on the teachers' tenure. I mean,
let's
it
talk
just
about
makes sense.
Yeah, well, people are just fed up. Look at the term limits. They didn't think that would ever pass, and that they keep trying to change it, but they're okay with
You
it.
know, you come back to this redistricting, and when they circulated that petition, they had 950,000 signatures only to challenge it and try to get it thrown out. Arnold has drawn a line in the sand on this one.
Good.
The legislator tried to cut a deal with him. You know, let's come up with a solution that's workable, and time ran out on him. So I'm looking forward to it. It may not be perfect, and we've discussed this before about finding 3 judges who are independent, if you will. But it has to be fixed.
Absolutely, and so there's going to be a fix. It's going to be challenged in the courts probably, and now Arnold's with the Stones concert raising money to support his initiatives.
Yeah, but I'm hearing that the numbers that are going to be raised in this initiative is between $50 and $200 million.
It's obscene. It
Watch
is so
the
obscene.
campaign finance disclosure statements to see who's really funding
Yes.
both sides of the issue.
Well, I'm sure people are going to be spending money on both sides
Yes,
because
they
nobody
will.
wants to get anybody angry. And look at that money that could go to health care or children's things or just keep it in your pocket and use it for the economy.
Let's go to paycheck protection.
Yes, okay. Paycheck protection is something also that the governor is not supporting. It's coming from the community. I don't know who put this through. Who's supporting this? Or
This is
who's
the second time
backers?
this has come up, but
Yeah, it came up in the early 90s, and then Jim Righeimer and Mark Bucher were
Jim,
the...
Mark, and Frank Urey were the
Okay.
3 that put that on.
And they say they're older now, they've got kids, and they don't have time for
Right.
it. But this would explain
This is an
it.
interesting one. Right now, you belong to a union, you pay dues. And up to 60%, or maybe a little more, of those dues actually go to the function that the unions provide for you. You know, if you get into arbitration or whatever it may be. On the other side, up to 40% of that money goes into their PAC to be used
Political
to
Action
support or
Committee.
oppose initiatives and or candidates.
Right.
So in effect, this is a free speech issue because you may not agree with the positions that the union is taking. And what they want to achieve by this initiative is to allow you to have an opt-out, the ability to say, I don't want to support that. I want a reduction in my dues, not for the basic, because everybody has to pay the basic dues, but I don't agree with it. I want to have that money refunded to me, and in fact, future invoices should be reduced accordingly. I would
Okay,
share
now-
with you that there's been some discussion on this one, and Orange County Sheriff Corona is in support of
Okay.
the Paycheck Protection Initiative.
And you know, there's something that hasn't been brought up yet. It's quite interesting too. Is if it's mandatory to belong to the union.
Which in this state it is.
Okay, well, certain unions. But if it's mandatory to belong to the union, then you might want to have an opportunity to opt out. If it's not mandatory to belong to the union, if it's a volunteer situation, then you may not be legally okay to opt out. And no one's ever really broached
That's
that yet.
interesting. Well, a few years ago with the Beck decision from the Supreme Court, the Beck decision said that you could go to your union and you could say, and you had to write them a letter and say, I do not want to have my money used for political positions.
Right.
But very few people did it because it was a hassle. With this new paycheck protection, you have to actually go to the union with a document that says, I want you to take my money out for a political action committee.
And then you
So
get
it's a little
blackballed
reversed.
because they say you're a troublemaker.
Right.
It'd be nice just to have them get a little check off.
Well, you know, there's a lot of union members who don't like the people that the unions have been supporting. I know that from a personal situation, because a lot of the union members, because a lot of times unions will support Democrats and a lot of their union members are Republicans. So there's a conflict there. A lot of the unions now are they're going to start supporting Republicans because they feel like they're not the automatic vote of Democrats. So we're going to see how this all plays out.
I don't think it's going to fly because I think because it's representative. In other words, when you when you elect your union representatives, if you elect them, unless it's Hoffa or somebody else.
Yeah, well, most of them.
But if you elect your union representatives, theoretically, it's a representative type of organization, and they're in charge of making those decisions for the members. And I find it's going to be hard pressed in the courts to come back and say, yeah, that's right, you can opt out if you want to, because there's too many issues. They could be giving to the unwed, mothers of Garden Grove. Who knows what if they're going to take it away from, let's say, specific candidates or specific issues? Can they take it away because of that money that you give to your union for beneficial things for let's say for Alzheimer's or for some other issue.
Yeah, but that's usually something completely different. The Political Action Committee is usually
Understood,
political.
but my point is they can
Yeah.
change from Political Action Committee
To
efforts
humanitarian?
to humanitarian. What's to stop them from doing that?
And then people may not like to give to Alzheimer's, they might want to give
Exactly,
to cancer.
my
So
point.
you've
Well,
got all
it's-
these different
My point.
avenues.
It's interesting because I spoke to a union official this morning, and he told me that it's going to be case by case depending on which union it is.
See,
And they could turn around, and that's not necessarily the case that you're going to get your money back, but I would like to wait and see how this pans out.
Well, it's going to be interesting. We'll
Yes,
see
it
how
will be.
there's going to be a lot of fireworks on that one, too.
We're talking big bucks
Redistricting,
here.
Yeah, unions, because they feel that's the
well,
lifeblood.
traditionally in California, pro-union things have always sustained themselves, and anti-union things have not done so well. And so the only way you have to do to get around that is what happens in the Arnold case right now on the tenure,
Mhm. Oh, about the
because that
teachers.
makes sense.
Right.
See, that's a direct issue regarding testing. You can do that.
Okay, the tenure's for the teachers.
Tenure is for the teachers. Let's extend it from 2 years to 5. We talked about this the last time I think we were on the show. The same thing is for testing. They should be tested. Of course they should be tested to see if they can still read and write. You know,
Right.
I mean, obviously, those are issues that the governor may have reason to,
Yeah, and that's one of
pursue.
the ones that
It's
Arnold
one of the
is
initiatives
supporting.
for November.
Yeah,
and
really
that makes
supporting.
good sense. But as far as union taking somebody's money that they give to their union and then declaring what they can do with it, it's always going to be a problem. I mean, I wish them luck. I really do, but I don't think they're going to win that one.
Well,
gonna be
we'll
tough.
wait and see. It's going to
Yeah.
be a lot of fireworks. But on the tenure thing, I'm on a lot of different boards of directors, and there's somebody from one of the schools, the superintendent of one of the school districts, and that person really said that she was for this, increasing it to 5 years, because in the first 2, people can slide. Maybe
right.
they don't have a lot
Exactly.
of oversight, and because there's so many new teachers now with this reduction of class sizes, it's hard for the administrators to get around and really look at what the teachers are actually doing. And you can do a lot of mischief in 2 years. So with 5 years, you really can kind of shake out people and see what's
Better.
going on.
Better.
You know, Lucia, you're talking about statewide initiatives, but there's a big issue right here locally, which is, we knew it as Prop 172 about 10 years ago.
No, that's the one, that 172 now.
Which is, no, it's called Measure D
Measure
in
D.
Orange County.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
172, and in that particular case, there was a half a cent sales tax increase, and 80% of that money went to the Orange County Sheriff's Department, 20% went to the District Attorney's Office,
Which was passed.
and that was approved.
Yeah.
And there's a little third fund where any monies that were not spent would go into this, would roll over into this other account. And now you've got both the police and the fire positioning themselves for
Well,
trying
come on.
to.
The fire guys just said, look at that. That's a good deal.
And that we're
And we're not
public
getting
safety,
How come we
anything.
didn't get any of that?
Yeah.
We're not
You
getting
know,
a
I
cut.
mean,
Well, but that
it's-
was actually, because I was in a meeting and Tony Rakakis was there explaining
Yeah.
this, and he said that 80% went to sheriff, 20 to the DA.
Right.
But the firefighters got a piece of the property tax.
Of course.
Yeah, but they get it through property tax.
And with the increase in values of properties now,
Oh,
their
yeah,
piece of the pie
they're
is a
making
lot bigger.
Yeah.
But this ballot, Measure D, has been put on, well, there's several different
The
versions.
fire guys are backing this.
But
They just want
absolutely.
more money.
Orange County Fire.
They just want they want to reach into Tony's pocket. They want to reach into Mike Corona's pocket and
Yeah.
take something
Well,
out
they
of there.
want 10% of the half cent that
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
in.
Yeah, understood.
And when you have 3 million people and a half cent, you think, oh, it's not a big deal,
Yeah, it's-
but it's humongous. Because I always wonder when you buy something for $1 and our sales tax is 7 3/4, you always pay 8%.
You know,
Because you can't get a quarter of a cent back, so they may as well call it 8 cents sales
part
tax.
of their issue is infrastructure, new fire equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Bill Campbell, Supervisor Campbell came up with an idea that has some merit to it. And that is, I guess, put in a requisition through the Board of Supervisors, who they report to anyway, and that they will, on a case-by-case basis, I guess,
Need a
provide
fire
the
truck,
funding
a fire building.
to buy a new fire truck or
Yeah.
put up a new firehouse. In fact, in all the new developments, the developers are providing those fire stations anyway. That's part of the development agreements.
Right, yeah, they just approved something in Anaheim with the Irvine Company, and they have to site a fire station up there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's true, but this is going to be another battle royal, and
This
the
one will be.
money that is being
So
spent
keep an eye on Measure
is
D, not just the 8 prepositions.
Wow. And there's another one on one of the propositions, and I know You're probably very
We
supportive.
don't do
of it.
drugs. You want to talk about the drug issues?
No, actually, I was going to talk about the notification of parents for abortion.
Oh, do we have to be notified for that? Oh, okay.
You can't take an aspirin. A kid can't take an aspirin in school, or
Yeah.
can't even take Sudafed if they've got some kind of an allergy or something,
Right.
without having a prescription on file with the nurse.
Right.
And the nurse
It's
controls
amazing
it.
that we have to
But an
fight to get this
abortion
thing approved.
really is. And even if you're pro-choice, and I know a lot of people are, they still say, if my child has a problem, I want to be notified.
You know what? I have a problem with this, and maybe you can answer this question, Lucille. I don't get it. You know, when you're a parent and you take your children to school, if they are going to put a Band-Aid on their hand and with antibiotic neosporin underneath it, they have to call you and let you know.
Right.
If they're going to cut off their arm because it was run over by a train, they have to let you know. Any surgical procedure they perform on your child when he goes to school, they have to let you know. Why would it not be the same for this particular
Well, I've
case?
heard
I
that-
don't get it.
Well, I don't get it either, as most parents won't, but they say a child, perhaps they've been abused at home, and the parents will then abuse them more because they went out and got pregnant.
Okay.
Or maybe it was incest, and maybe one of the brothers or the father or somebody was involved.
Right.
And now they know all about it. So if there's no notification of a parent, they want to protect the child. And it is a child. If you're in school, if you're in high school, you still haven't reached, for most people haven't reached the age of majority, 18. So you're talking about a child. And you're also talking about possibility of rape. And that right there is a reportable crime, because it could be a fellow student at 13, 14, or it could be an adult male who's raped the child statutorily. But so that's what they're going to say, I'm sure, that we don't want to put the girl into more danger.
Well, to put it in proper perspective, the ages that are affected here for females, teenagers that are being affected by this, that are having children, are from age 11 to 19.
Tell
Yeah,
about
and-
that story we just saw.
Well, it's very
No,
sad
I
because
just- I
women...
We just read it. We just read
Yeah.
an article about that in. We won't mention the city, but in Ohio.
Yeah.
In
Well,
a s-
'cause
in a
girls are
school.
maturing a lot
I
quicker.
think there were 69 out of 460 girls in the school were all pregnant.
And they wondered why. I heard that today.
Yep.
And then so Rush Limbaugh said, well, probably sex had something to do with it.
Mhm.
And I said, gee, we can't
Don't
figure
jump
out...
to conclusions.
I can't figure out how they got pregnant. He said, okay, bottom line, sex, if they put 2 movies together, 2 CDs together, I don't think it's going to happen. So it was very interesting because they're going around scratching their heads and saying, I don't understand this. So that's really very sad. So all the condoms we're giving out, all the sex education we're giving out, all the stuff about AIDS, it's not working.
That's right.
Well, because of the, I mean, I think what parents have to understand, for sure, is that it's a whole new intellectual look at life from what kids did before years ago. We have the electronic media,
Right.
the iPodcast. I mean, we haven't even gotten to that. I mean, the new iPodcast is like the hottest thing out there. They can download pornography. They can download anything they want to download on that, on their iPod, along with everything else. So, I mean, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get considerably worse as the years go by, and it's going to be a lot harder for kids to stay pristine and clean and not
To stay
affected.
kids. To be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
stay kids.
No, it won't. It'll be
Kids,
extremely
yeah.
difficult.
Kids are growing up so fast,
You
and yet
bet.
people are just taking them to soccer and this and that and plays and ballet, and the parents are going crazy. Nobody has dinner at home anymore, they said, because there's so many people who
Well,
they
it's
say
two
fast food.
two people that have to run the family.
But the kids need some downtime just to be kids and just look up at the stars and dream. And I don't see any kids being able to
Well,
do that.
that's for people that are rich, and usually the people that are rich are on vacation, and the kids are being taken care of by a nanny, and they
Yeah.
don't get that
So
anyway.
they're latchkey anyway.
But if
Yeah.
they're rich, they're still playing tennis and swimming and horseback riding, and so
Sure.
they've got activities upon activities.
Don't you watch the Real OC?
No. I don't do reality shows. I think it's what happened to
Is this a
good
reality
television?
show?
No, what happened to good TV? Well, there's no contest here.
Exactly.
Anyhow, we only have a couple minutes left, so let me
Right.
cheat, put my glasses on. So What else are we talking about with all these wonderful
Well, let's talk
campaign
about Jim
initiatives?
Gilchrist and that
Oh, yes,
you were
yes,
mentioning.
yes,
we
I
wanted to do
forgot.
something
Yes.
on our replacing our
Yes.
wonderful congressman, the most
Chris
wonderful
Cox.
congressman was ever possible to have, Chris Cox.
Cox,
He was
now he's head
he
of
was
the
the honorable
SEC.
gentleman, the well-spoken man,
Intelligent.
the best you could possibly get, and we had to replace him.
Big shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill. We've got 20 now. They took it like it was another
It was
run
like
for
Arnold.
governor.
Yeah, recall election.
Yeah,
we
it's
had,
like
what,
another
400?
recall.
120 people
Now we got
running.
20 people running for his seat, and
Right.
out of that 20, there's one of them is Jim Gilchrist, who happens to be one of the co-founders of the Minutemen.
And
he's an American independent.
right. He said
Now,
he's half
I
American
used to be an American independent until
And we-
1994, but I wised up because we never won
Won
anything. We never won anything. So
I know.
unless he's got $1 million in the bank, he hasn't got a chance because Marilyn Brewer has 500,000 and John Campbell has 500,000.
And John Campbell can write a check
And
for
John
millions.
Campbell has
That's true.
every endorsement under the sun except for John McCain, who Marilyn Brewer has.
But there's one that nobody has except Jim Gilchrist,
Yes.
former Representative Bob
B1
Dornan.
Bob
Don't
Dornan.
talk about one of the founding members of the Cutting
He's the
Edge. Now,
founder of
come
the
on.
Cutting
I
Edge.
love Bob Dornan. I think
Of
he's
course.
great because I was hoping he'd throw his hat in the ring, but he has a surrogate now.
No.
He's in
He's
Washington.
a smart guy, and but he's
He served
also
our country.
Yeah, I mean, when we say ideologue, thank God.
Yeah, well, he's right there,
it's only-
man. Nobody
Thank God
could
we still
sway
have
him.
some ideologues in
That's
this country.
true. But Jim
And,
Gilchrist,
it's wonderful.
Jim Gilchrist said he's half American independent, half Republican. The interesting thing about
We're
that,
more impressed with Chris Simcox. We did a show with him.
Yeah.
And Chris, to us, is just the better of the two guys. I mean, not because we don't like Jim, but I think
Chris
he's
is-
just.
yeah.
I just think Chris is a lot more well-spoken, has a better grip on the issues.
Sure.
Nicer guy.
well, and Jim's going to be a one-issue person, but
That's it.
the immigration issue is the #1 hottest issue in the country, bar none. Even people in Vermont and Massachusetts are very concerned about it. So that's why New Mexico and Arizona, both Democrat governors, declared a state of an emergency.
Right.
Well, they're
because
just
of
trying
all
to
the
steal
invest-
that. They're trying
trying to steal the issue.
Obviously, because the president can't do anything. If he does anything
Right.
anti-immigrant, they're going to call him some bigoted racist.
Yeah.
So,
but it's interesting
yeah.
with the Gilchrist, with so many people actually in the race. I think there's nobody's going to win 50% plus one.
I do. I think that Campbell's going to get it walking away.
Well, Campbell's going to win ultimately.
No, but I think he's going to get over 50%.
He might get over 50%.
Really?
Because everybody's just going to say, who are these other people and how did they get here and why isn't Mary Carey on the ballot so I can vote for her? I mean,
But it's right. You get to vote in this election, don't you?
yeah. What's the little guy? The little guy that's on all the borrowing.
Coleman.
Yeah, Gary Coleman.
Gary Coleman.
He was not bad. He's kind
See,
of
Gary
cute.
Coleman's not the
he needs
listed.
to
He's
move
not,
on
he's
to
not
the
running. Exactly. He
Yeah,
could
but
run
so
down there,
everybody's
Mary
family
Carey.
will vote for their own people. Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
the two.
Well, Campbell's going to win regardless. And then
right.
you've got the race. We'll have to talk about that. We're running out of time. What 20 people are going to go after the Campbell seat?
Oh, but that's pretty simple.
Who?
Well, it's Tom Harmon is the front runner in that regard.
Okay, how about
He's
Chuck?
going to
Chuck DeVore.
Yeah,
Chuck DeVore.
Well, Chuck. I think Chuck's going to be the loyal,
Loyal and safe
supposition
out.
rather than the
Okay.
loyal opposition.
Well, we're out of time. I can't believe it. It all goes by too quickly. We get to the most interesting parts at the end.
Good.
So, from KRINGS Corner, this is Lucille Kring.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, it's always
Thank you
great
for
to be with you.
being here. We haven't given your website, but Lucille Kring from KRINGS Corner, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, make it a great week. And please remember our men and women in the military in your prayers and thoughts. Until next time, God bless. I forgot about the
New research tells us the best time to enhance bone development is during childhood and adolescence. One more reason to encourage your kids to get up, get out, and get moving. A public service message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.